says the curious garden. So I'm being curious. You should be curious too. Okay, I'll stop being curious and I'll get to the book. The book is, well, it's called The Curious Garden, and kind of talking about gardening, Earth Day, pretty cool day. But The Curious Garden does look kind of curious, a little bit interesting, I gotta say. If you look at the picture there, there's a kid there, kind of sitting on top of a tree. It looks kind of happy, but what's going on? Why is it so curious? Well, I think we're going to find out. The Curious Garden by Peter Brown. That's our book for today. And I think you're going to like it because it's a pretty cool book, and I have a pretty cool story of my own to tell you at the end of the book. You'll have to wait and see. You'll be in suspense to see what that is, but it's a pretty neat one. So let's see. The Curious Garden. Oh, look at this. That's pretty cool. I like that page. That's a cool illustration. It's like the words curious or the curious are kind of growing. And in garden is like bricks, but it's all kind of growing off it. And there is that little kid there, kind of trimming, kind of making it perfect. He's like, maybe he's the curious gardener, taking care of the garden. There was once a city without any gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. That does look pretty dreary and just kind of like depressing and not so happy. I mean, it looks like, I'll get a little bit closer there, it looks like a nice kind of city, but I don't know, I see a lot of smokestacks and chimneys and just like factories and stuff. Does kind of look like a very dreary or sad and depressing kind of a place. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days, while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. Just loved it. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. I bet I know what he's going to do. And look, there he is. Look at that. He's wandering through the rain. Looks happy. Doesn't mind the rain. Doesn't mind the puddles. Got his nice umbrella there. But down there, look at that. The whole page. You can see the old railway. It's like an elevated, means it's up high, like above the street. An elevated railway, but they said it hasn't been used in ages. So I guess it's kind of just there, kind of collecting dust or dirt, or yeah, maybe they should just like rip it down and get rid of it. Well, you always wanted to explore. Let's see what happens. Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the old railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last things he had expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. Look at that. Liam ran up the stairs, ran up the railway. You can see Liam there. But then over there, look at that. There's a little patch of color, a little bit of green, a little bit of plants and things growing. And look, you can kind of see the old beat up railroad tracks that aren't used anymore, but those plants there, they're trying to grow. They need a gardener. I kind of bet I know who might be the gardener. Liam may not have been a gardener, but He knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. Look at that. The plants nearly drowned. Look at all the water he poured on those plants. That's like a whole bucket full of water. Well, I mean, plants do need water, but not too much. Gotta be careful. And you kind of see the pruning problems there. We kind of accidentally maybe lobbed off a little chunk of that. But hopefully it'll grow back. You gotta be careful. And then, and look at that down there. It looks like he's singing. Because you know what? Some people say singing and music in general helps plants grow. Well, I guess we'll have to see. Liam clearly thinks that because he's singing a little tune there. Happy little tune. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener. And the plants began to feel like a real garden. Remember what they started looking like? Only a couple weeks later, but look, they're looking pretty good. How about that? Okay, well, Liam is doing better. It's not just a bucket of water. He's just gushing onto them. He got a little, looks like holes there to kind of sprinkle it on. And the plants are looking better. They're kind of even making those kind of not so nice railroad tracks that are all beat up look kind of nice. Most gardens would stay in one place. But this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Do you think they mean the mosses and the plants, they just kind of got up and walked over there and then planted themselves over there? Probably not. I kind of think what they mean is it spread. As the plants were able to get healthier and stronger, they kind of grew and got bigger and expanded down old tracks. And you know what? Look at this picture. I'll start there. Just going to show you that part. That's what it started like. I kind of see a little bit of plants, but I see mostly kind of beat up tracks. And then, whoa, that's looking a little bit better there. I see more plants. It's looking prettier. But just wait until you see the bottom. Are you ready for it? Wait, look. Whoa, look at that. I love that I see Liam there too. He's that master gardener now, helping those. That's beautiful. Doesn't look like old rusty tracks anymore. I'd kind of want to go and hang out there. It looks so nice. Over the next few months, Liam and the curious garden explored every corner of the railway. And look at this picture. It's kind of a big one, but it's the whole side of the town or the city and the whole elevated railway. You can see all along here and all along there, all the way along. All green because the plants explored and expanded and grew to kind of make the whole railway look pretty nice. Still got some factories and some smoke and stuff. I mean, I guess you need to have that in a big city, but how nice, how beautiful, and how pretty does that look? Liam in the middle of an amazing garden there, just enjoying every little bit of those plants and everything that grew there. Wow. You know what? Did you notice there? You can kind of see the tracks there, but they're totally covered up with mosses and stuff. Wait a minute, is this another picture? No, it's just right to another picture. Look at this. Even this one. I love it. Maybe not quite as beautiful yet as the first one, but still pretty nice. You can see the plants trying to grow, trying to take over there. And I think I see that Liam in there. It's pretty cool the way it kind of goes under the buildings, or almost through those buildings. You can kind of imagine that the trains probably would pass under there, but now the garden does. Wow. Go Liam for doing such a good job making that garden grow. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Cold. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he's become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Well, if everything is covered with snow, it's kind of tough to travel. And look at that one. Oh yeah, totally covered in snow. This is the elevated railway up here. Totally covered in snow. You can't see anything. I do see a couple kids down there. Is that Liam and his buddies there? Oh, I think that one's Liam. Yep, that's him. Looking up. And his two buddies there. They were going sledding or sleigh riding. But he's thinking about his garden. He's thinking, kind of wish I could go up there. He's being a little curious, thinking that he wants to help, but let's see. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for the spring. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Look at this. How was he preparing? He was preparing by, look at that, there he is, reading a book, learning about maybe the best ways to garden, the best ways to help his plants. And then down here, look at that. Oh, he looks like a master gardener now. He's got a whole wheelbarrow filled with rakes and shovels and a watering can. He's even dressed like a gardener. Oh, he is ready to go. He's all geared up. I bet this garden this year is going to be pretty amazing. Unfortunately, winter had taken a toll on the garden. If something takes a toll on it, that means it's kind of hard. It's kind of tough. It kind of had a little bit of a troubled time. And oh no, look at that garden. Doesn't look so good. No. Liam looks a little sad. Winter had taken a toll on his garden. But thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. Because you know what, that's true. They don't die totally. They kind of almost go to sleep. And then when the warmer weather comes in the spring, all the plants begin to grow. And Liam was helping them by watering them and pruning them or trimming them. Looked like he did a little bit better there. And, oh yeah, you betcha, singing his little plant growing song. Kind of to help them grow. I know a song about growing plants. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna help that garden grow. Well, at least that's what Liam is doing. That's a real song, though. But anyway, he's helping that garden grow. Maybe that's the song he's singing. It could be. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring, it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. Look at Liam waving there. But look at the whole picture. Wow. It's starting to spread. You can see a little bit there, a little bit there. The garden is starting to spread, starting to kind of expand. And on this side, oh yeah, look at that. Curious, old, forgotten things. It's like an old car, an old truck. And look at that. The gardens are taking it over. Nobody wanted it, but the plants happy to grow there. And then down there too, in a little crack or a little boarded up window, Liam's helping. Liam is definitely helping. But the plants are growing. They're spreading around. A few plants popped up even where they didn't belong. Look at that on a stop sign. It's probably not a good idea. Or, oh, on a fire hydrant. That's also not a good idea. Because we need to be able to see stop signs so people don't get into like car accidents or anything. And fire hydrants, they're important too. We need to make sure they're clear for the firefighters to be able to help us. So, you know, Liam loves his plants, loves his garden, but he's pulling them off because he knows not a good place. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. Look at that. That man there, a little garden in a pot, must have popped up there. Looks pretty. And then down here, oh, look at that. Look, oh, it's like kind of like a mysterious, got sunglasses on. Looks like he's almost pouring his garden out of the wheelbarrow. How cool. Wait, is that Liam under there? Is that Liam being sneaky? I think it might be. Mysteriously popped up all at once. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. The new gardeners. In other words, more people who were like, wow, look at that. I kind of want to do that too because that garden looks beautiful. I want to be a gardener as well. And look at that. How cool is that? It's like on the roof of the building, a rooftop garden. How pretty is that? How green, and there's a whole bunch of people there trimming the grass, pruning the shrubs, and just enjoying all the plants. And then on this side, look at that. All different rooftop gardens. Well, there's Liam's railway garden, but there's a garden down there. There's a garden up there. There's a garden over there. Guy, look at that. Riding a lawnmower on top of that roof. That looks much prettier than it did before. And look at that. Hold on. There's a little scarecrow. I like the little scarecrow up there. Kind of scaring away those, the crows on the top of that roof. This is much prettier. Oh, and look at this one. They keep growing. I am loving this. This is so pretty. Look at this. There, somebody's like walking down steps covered in like a moss. That's probably a lot softer than like a hard concrete steps. And there, oh, look at that. People having a picnic, enjoying the beautiful meadow there. And then, oh, look at that. Almost like in the bay or in the seaport, I guess you could say. The lily pads, and look at that. There's a bird there, and they're all having a great time. And oh, look at that! Even the animal-shaped plants. I guess maybe somebody probably pruned or trimmed them to look like that, but the birds seem to like it. There's a bird on that one too. What do we got here? Oh, I like those too. Look at that! A skinny little tree. Can't get in the picture too good there, but the skinny little tree between the buildings, or that building too. That looks kind of like an old, messy, not so pretty building, but it's much better. When it's covered in those plants, it looks much prettier, much nicer. And down at the bottom, can you see what's happening? It's really tiny, but somebody's actually painting a picture of the whole building because it's now almost looking like a piece of artwork. Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. His rooftop garden on the railway. And look at that. Beautiful. There's Liam. Looks like Liam's friends, maybe, helping. Oh, is that Liam's mom, maybe? I'm not sure. Definitely a friend. All covered in beautiful green plants and wildflowers and mosses. And I love it. Liam's favorite was where it all began. OMG. I hold on one second. I needed that because this is actually, hold on. I think it's almost the same picture as we saw in the beginning of the book. Hold on, let me get to it. It is. Okay, get ready for this. Are you ready? This is like the reveal. This is what the city used to look like. I mean, it looks like a nice city. I mean, there's a lot going on, factories and stuff, making important things. As people live there, they're kind of all living inside. But then, what happened? Well, Liam happened with his curious garden, and all of a sudden this turned into, get ready for it, here it comes, turned from this to, look at that! It's the exact same buildings and everything, but that looks so much prettier. That looks like I'd want to live there with nice parks to play. Maybe you can kind of go play ball or something, or just run outside and have a good time, throw a frisbee. I love it. I'm going to kind of show you up close a little bit so you can kind of see the pictures a little bit better. But every part of it, there's gardens everywhere. There's plants growing. There's people enjoying all of those gardens, having a great time, enjoying all the wonderful greenery, all the plants growing, all the beautiful fresh air that those plants are growing. Pretty cool. Pretty neat. Liam, I am impressed. And I gotta say, one more time, looks a lot nicer than that. Wow. I love it. Well, that is the end. That was The Curious Garden. But wait, I said I had a story. Here's the story. It's a pretty cool one. This book is a fictional book. It's a made-up story, but it's based on a real place. A real place in a big city called New York City. And part of New York City is called Manhattan. And Manhattan has a railway, just like in this book, like up high, kind of above the streets, except they built it a long time ago, in like the 1930s. And then around 1980, they stopped using it. They didn't need it anymore. And it just kind of sat there. And eventually people said, oh, we should just rip that down. It's ugly. Nobody uses it. But they didn't. They decided they were going to turn it into a garden. Maybe there was a real Liam. Well, I went to visit this place. It's called the High Line. Like a line, like a railroad line, but up high. And the High Line used to be a railroad. You want to see what it looks like now? You're not going to believe it. It kind of still looks like a railroad, but much prettier. Look at that. I took this picture. That's a picture. You can see the railroad tracks in there, but they're going, well, I think they used to go right through that building. Remember, just like the building in the book, but they kind of closed it up. But now, look at those plants. It looks beautiful. Lovely. I love it. Let me show you another one. This one here. Ooh, this one you can kind of see. It kind of looks like, maybe kind of like the tracks there, but they just made it beautiful. And there's like a nice grassy area there, meadow, and there's like somebody reading a book there, just kind of having a great time. You can kind of see the buildings in the background, but this is the middle of New York City. Look at this one. Well, first of all, I'll show you the bottom, like this. Ready? Oh, I see big buildings there. That looks like New York City, but wait for it. Oh, look, that looks like a green grassy meadow somewhere. Beautiful. Pretty nice, pretty cool. And then one more, I kind of like this picture the best because you can see the railroad just like in Liam's book. But there's trees sprouting up right in between all those railroad ties. Railroad ties, those are the wooden pieces there. Right in between them, trees just growing up. Don't mind it at all. I love it, pretty cool. Well, this real live place is the place that gave the inspiration, maybe the idea for the Curious Garden. Pretty cool book and a pretty cool idea because you know what? You can actually visit that today and see it. And it looks a lot nicer than the kind of messy, dirty, ugly, beat up railroad that nobody used anymore. Much nicer as a garden. Pretty cool. Well, that was The Curious Garden. I love it. By Peter Brown. Pretty cool book and pretty cool idea. But that's it for today. More books coming up. You'll have to wait until then, though. Until next time, this is Mr. Pomel and Liam. And a cute little bird there on the watering can. And we are all saying, I will see you next time, and goodbye!